Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we'll be learning something about functions, and it's subsequently we'll learn about recursion. Now, function, why we are revisiting is this: recursion is very much related to function. So unless and until you have a clear idea of what function is, I guess you all have the clear idea. But still, I'm revisiting it so that if anybody is not comfortable with functions, he or she may get a brief brush up on their basics. So let's start. Somehow giving a problem. I don't know what has happened. Wait a minute. Yes, I'm doing this. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A little bit of outline how it all goes. We'll be learning something about functions, and then we'll go to recursion and types of recursion and what is the difference between recursion and iteration. And if time permits, I will show you about structures. Now, let's start. So, to start with a function basics, we have to understand the fundamentals of functions. We have to understand a function is nothing but it's a group of statements that are grouped together to perform a task. So another definition could be a function is a subprogram which performs a particular task when it's called. And in every C program, you'll find there is at least one function which is main, and it is the most general or trivial programs that can define additional functions. Now, what are the use of function? The two primarily it is used for two things. First one is reusability, because once you write a function, you can use it without rewriting the same code again and again in different programs or in different parts of the program. And modularity means dividing a big task into small pieces. So let's suppose if you want to create a program on calculator, you will be creating at least 4 to 5 functions. One function will be dedicated for addition, the other function will be dedicated for subtraction, then one more function will be dedicated for division, and so on. So in this way, you can divide your whole program into different modules or in different functions. So as your main program doesn't get cluttered, only the part which is needed for particular addition, those group of statements will be kept under one function, and they will be doing a specific task. Now coming to this is how the function looks like. If you have, okay, let me take the laser pointer now. If you have a calling program here, it may have different function, and you could write the same function once, and the same function can be called at different places. So this is why function reduce the size of the program and consequently the use of the memory, and program structure organization becomes very easier. So this is all about functions. Now there are three different parts of a function. The first part is function declaration or the prototype declaration. The next part is function definition, and final is function calls. Now, if you look at very carefully in the left right hand side, I have defined one integer a is equals to 10, b is equals to 5, c is and c. After that, what is this? This is a function prototype. Now, before you go ahead in this is a very logical thing. See, unless and until you declare something, you cannot define it. And unless and until you define something, you cannot use it. Am I right? So let's suppose if you want to make a child to learn about toothbrush, so you have to tell the child that there is something called toothbrush which is used, which can be used to brush your teeth. So you have to tell him, that is what you are declaring something to him. Then you will show the toothbrush to him or her, and then this is defining it, that he or she is actually seeing a toothbrush. And finally you will show it how to use it. So that is the calling of how it should be used. Now the same logic is used in computer science. Without declaring, you cannot define, and without defining, you cannot use. So for this three things is in this order only: function declaration, function definition, and function calls. Now, if you look at the line 3, you will find this is nothing but this is declaring the function. How you can declare? Int, what is the return type, the name of the function, and what are the parameters, what are the inputs that you are giving into the function. So this, and you will see there is one more thing, it ends with a semicolon. Now whenever you are declaring something, or which is known as function prototype declaration, it ends with something. Now why I need function prototype, I guess I have told you about it. If you want to define it and declare it before main, then there is no need for function prototype. But it is a way of saying to the compiler, see, I may use this product function in the main program, so don't get messed up because the definition of the program is given after main. So this is how it all works. So this is the main function, and you can see when I'm calling the product, this is a function call. For example, if I have not declared this and I have directly used main, the compiler would have complained me that what thing is this product. So, why it is complaining? Because you have not declared it. You have to declare it, then you can use it, but declaration should be before main if you are using function prototype. But if you are defining it before main, then there is no need for function prototype. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So this is how all the things has been written in point wise. This function prototype provides the compiler with information about the function that will be defined later in the function definition. The prototype, whatever the things prototype contains, the return type, the name of the function, and the parameters or inputs. Now next thing is function definition. If you go back, this is the function definition. You'll find there is no semicolon here. Function prototype has a semicolon, but there is no semicolon, and this is the function body. This is the function body. So this is the processing logic. So what is the function definition? Is the actual definition or actual definition of the function. The first line of the function definition is identical to the function prototype, that is the return type, function name, and parameters. Additionally, the function definition also contains the code which is known as the body that the function will execute, or these are called statements. And this function definition uses curly brackets or braces to surround the code. Finally, the function call is used to execute the function and is run within the main function or any other function. Now you will be thinking that there are two different terms, arguments and parameters. See, mainly the difference, there is no difference. Arguments are passed and parameters are received. You just have to learn this phrase, then you will be able to understand everything. Now, can you tell me, when I'm calling this product and after that I'm saying A and B, is A and B argument or parameter?
Parameter. Parameter, sir.
No, these are arguments. See, that's what I'm saying. Arguments are passed, parameters are received. Here what I'm saying, I'm passing A and B. Where? In the product function. Where the product function is written here. This is the product function. Now this int x and int I, what are these? Are this argument or are this parameter? Exactly. This time it is parameter. You might see that they are used interchangeably in many books, but basic difference is that arguments are passed, parameters are received. Although you can say this is parameter or this is argument, but actual technical difference between these two are arguments A and B at this point. At this point, these are arguments, and when it is received by X and Y, then this becomes the parameters. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine. Fine.
Sir, some students are trying to join, sir. Can you allow them?
Huh?
Sir, some
We-
students are trying to join, sir, now.
But I have already made this auto join mode.
No, sir, they're trying.
Anybody else who wants to join? Okay, fine. So I was telling you about arguments and parameters. So I guess you have understood the point. What actually I'm trying to make. See, this function I'm repeating once again. Function has three different components. The first component is declaration, or sometimes it is also known as prototype. The second thing is function definition, and finally the function definition. Finally is the function call. Function declaration may contain, or the prototype must contain a semicolon, but in the function definition it may not it should not contain the semicolon. Only the body or the statements inside the function definition may contain semicolon. And finally the function call is calling the function. That's it. How you are using it, I've given the analogy with the toothbrush. Okay, next is the part that we are connecting to recursion. Now, can you tell me what is recursion? Anyone? Have you ever heard this word?
Something like the function calling itself again.
Repeatedly.
Acha, function calling repeatedly. And anything else? Anybody
The
else?
function itself is working like a loop.
Okay.
The function is calling itself.
Function is calling itself. Fine. See, all the definition, whatever you have given, these all are correct for the beginner student. Fine, for a beginner student. But when you are talking about computer science, and when you are saying that you are computer science engineering student, these definition will not be sufficient. Now, what are the different definitions you have? Recursion is the process of repeating items in a self-similar manner. In a self-similar manner. This could be a definition. Any function which calls itself is called recursive function. A recursive function or method solves a problem by calling a copy of itself to work on a smaller problem. This is called recursion step. This is another definition. Recursion is a repetitive process in which an algorithm calls itself. This is another definition. But my favorite is these two. A function that calls itself directly or indirectly to solve a smaller version of its task until a final call which does not require a self call is a recursive function. This is the first, and the second one is a procedure is recursive if it is whether directly or indirectly defined in terms of itself. So you can say the last point or the last definition is also correct. So you can use anything here. All these are correct, but don't use a function calling itself is called recursive. If you are telling this, you have to tell the complete answer. A recursive method solves problem by calling a copy of itself to work on a smaller problem. So be very sure. Don't always say the procedure is recursive, whether directly, indirectly, in terms of itself. You have to tell it very clearly, very perfectly, whichever the definition you are going to use it as a computer science student, because these are the technical definition. But if you ask my preference, I will go with the last, which is given in a red box. These two definitions are correct, or the third one is also correct, but third one needs little bit of explanation. So are you getting, have you got the idea actually? This is the definition. Yes. Now, this is the definition of recursion. This is nothing but as you have told, that a function calling itself again and again. Now, why a function is calling itself again and again? What is the need? Because many useful algorithms are recursive in structure and recursive in nature as well. To solve a given problem, they call themselves recursively one or more times. What actually it means is, these algorithms typically follow an approach known as divide and conquer approach. What they do, they break up the problem into several sub-problems that are similar to the original problem, but smaller in size, and solve the sub-problems recursively or repeatedly, then combine this solution to create solution to the original problem. This approach is very much used in sorting algorithms, and you will find when we go into the sorting that maximum of sorting algorithms are recursive in nature, or better sorting algorithms are recursive in nature. Now, what are the divide and conquer paradigm consists of 3 steps. What are the 3 steps? First step is divide. Divide means divide the problem into number of sub-problems. So make sure the sub-problem should be similar to one another. It should not be different. then you have conquered, then you solve the sub problems recursively. That means if the sub problem size is small enough, you have to solve the small problems in a straightforward manner, and finally combine the solution of the sub problems into the solution for the original problem. What it meant is, if you have a problem, you have to divide into multiple sub problems. As I have shown in the figure, only two, it may be many. Now, then you solve the sub problem one by one, and then you combine the solution of the sub problem to get to bigger picture of the bigger problem. Did you get it? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is divide and conquer approach, and this is why we use recursion. This is why we use recursion. Okay. Now I have already shown you one of the slide in earlier classes. This program. Do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
So what are the different application memory segments were there? We had heap, we have stack, we have static and global, and then we have code and text. What is code and text used for? For what purpose the section code and text are used for? See, these are used for storing the machine instructions or storing all the statements in sequence. Then you have static and global. All the global and static variables or constants will be stored here. Then you have stack.
प्राइस नहीं है।
So you're not audible.
Sir, not audible.
Probably network issue.
अरे बोलो यार।
Sir is not here.
No.
हाँ
नहीं सर,
क्या क्या नहीं दिख रहा तो हमको।
सब बढ़िया है।
I'm sorry, my net connection was not up to the mark. Now am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Till what part you have learned or what part I have shown you?
Sir, you were showing us the memory part.
Okay, fine. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I have already shown you about this in our last class. For what purpose code and text is used for? Can anybody tell me?
Sir, to store the statements of the machine code.
And what about static and global?
To store the static and global variables.
Okay, now you tell me what is about heap. Can anybody tell me about heap?
So dynamically allocated memory is
Dynamically allocated.
How we allocate memory dynamically in C?
malloc.
Malloc.
Using the function
Yeah,
C. You have to tell it correctly and tell all the technical correct. Don't say just malloc and calloc. Using the function malloc or using malloc function. These are functions. Malloc, calloc, free or realloc functions. You can use it. And there is one more thing, that this part, that heap part, should be allocated and deallocated by the programmer or by the developer themselves. All right. Here, computer or the machine won't do anything automatically for you. So, if you are allocating memory, you have to allocate on your own. If you are deallocating, this is also your responsibility. But in stack, this is not the case. Here, the allocation and deallocation is done by the system or the compiler, and it is done at the compile time. It is not done at runtime. So if you look at this picture in the middle, you will find that A is first A has been allocated some memory, then in A in turn call B, and similarly B in turn call C, and then D, and then E. One thing you have to very careful while using stack or while using recursion, that you don't go or don't exhaust all the memory of stack. What happens if you exhaust all the memory of stack? You may get stack overflow, or you may stack overflow error, or you may get or you may crash your program. So this is a thing you have to be very careful when you are using recursion. Now the recursion are of two types. One type is direct recursion and another type is indirect recursion. This is an example of indirect recursion. A is calling B, B is calling C, C is calling D, D is calling E. Is it clear? This is an indirect recursion. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are getting it. Okay, fine. So let's see recursion with a classical case of factorial. Now, mathematically, the definition of factorial says that the factorial of a positive number is the product of the integral values from 1 to the number. Now, functionally, you can show, let's suppose the name of the function is factorial and it takes the input as n. N is the number you want to give, you want to find. Now, if n is 0, then your factorial would be 1. And if n is greater than 0, then your factorial will be n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 to 1, up to 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, note that this definition is iterative. Why is it iterative? Because although it is a repetitive algorithm, but it is defined iteratively. Because whenever the definition involves only the algorithm parameters, what is the algorithm parameter? N was the parameter. Am I right? You have already understood that what is the parameter and argument. So if n is the parameter, then everything is defined in terms of n, in terms of parameter. So when something is defined in terms of its parameter, not the algorithm itself, it is nothing but it's an iterative definition. So it means a factorial 4, if I want to find out the 4, I have to go 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. In other way, you can say 4 into 3 factorial. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is an iterative factorial algorithm. Now, the same thing could be designed using a recursive algorithm. How? Now, this is recursive algorithm. What is this recursive algorithm? If factorial and the same thing, if name of the function is factorial and n is given as an input, then it will be 1 if n is equals to 0, or it will be n into factorial n minus 1. Now see the difference here. Here factorial as a function comes here if n is greater than 0. Previously it was not the function, we are just working with the argument or the parameters, but this time we are actually working with the algorithm. So this uses recursion whenever the algorithm appears within the definition itself, and here you can find factorial n minus 1, although n minus 1 is nothing but is a modified version of factorial. So here factorial function is coming, here n into n minus 1 is not coming. So this definition is recursive in nature. So to understand the picture, if I want to find out the factorial 3, so I will first suggest factorial 3, then 3 into factorial 2, because factorial is factorial n minus 1. Then in factorial 2, in turn, we'll call factorial 2 function, and it will be evaluated to 2 into factorial 1. Finally, factorial 1 will come 1 into factorial 0, although we already have defined what is the case 0, if factorial 0 is already 1. Now factorial 0 will be substituted in case of in the written part. Here 1 is the return statement. So 1 into 1 equal to 1, it becomes the evaluated value of factorial 1, and simultaneously it will be replaced here in the factorial 2 into factorial 1 of this, and it will get 2, and finally similarly this 2 will be replaced in case of factorial 2, because this 2 is the return value of factorial 2, and finally you will get the answer. Did you get the idea how factorial is working?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this recursion is working. Okay, fine. So these are the two different algorithms. So I'm not worried about this, because this is an iterative algorithm and this is an algorithm, remember, and this is a pseudocode. What is the difference? Can you find? I'm saying this one in the left hand side, this is an iterative algorithm, and the right hand side I'm saying it is a recursive pseudocode. Do you find the difference? What is the difference between these two?
Certainly they are written.
Where they are written. In algorithm, you will write from step 1 to last step. Am I correct? But
Yes.
in pseudocode, you will actually, pseudo means false. So you will write a false code. It may be a C code, it may be a Python code, it may be a Java code, it may be a C++ code. This is nothing but is a pseudo code itself. It's a false code. So the particular algorithm may either be represented using this algorithm, or it can be represented using pseudocode, the particular logic. So I'm not bothered about your iterative algorithm. You do and study on your own and do it how you can do it. I'm more inclined towards recursive. Now what happens in recursive? For example, let's see a simulation of the recursive pseudocode. This was the recursive pseudocode. Let's suppose I want to find the factorial of a function when n equal to 4. Okay, and I have actually created one table to find out what is the current function, what is the return value, and what is the status. What is the name of my function here?
Fact.
Fact. So, yeah, instead of fact, now I'll be using capital F. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
this
sir.
this is one my assumption. And what is the value of n for this example we have taken?
0, yeah, 1.
Huh?
4.
N 4.
Four.
So
4.
yeah. So my current function is f4. Now come to your pseudocode, or okay, let me do laser pointer. Now we are beginning. is n is equal to 0, is it? No. So it will go to its else statement, and what it will return? N into call of fact into n minus 1. So if f is 4, as it is 4 is not 0, so it will call 4 into f3. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Am
sir.
I right? F3, f fact n minus 1 is nothing but f3. Now, can I know the return value of this function f4? Do you know the return value of this function at this moment?
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
So I don't know the return value. What is the current status of this program now? If I call the F3, it
Yeah.
will be paused. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Because unless and until F3 finishes, you won't be able to get the return value. Am I right?
Yes,
So
sir.
let's call F3 now. Now, if I call F3, now it will be evaluated to 3 into F2. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Now, can I get the return value? No, because
sir.
I have to evaluate F2 first. So I don't know the return value. Now I'll call the F2, and this program will also be paused, or this function will also be paused. Now currently I'm evaluating F2, that is 2 into F1. I don't know the value of F1 till now, and so this is similar to previous two. Till now it is correct, or till now did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Sir, F1
Yes, sir.
should give a return value 1.
हाँ, ये अभी तक हुआ नहीं है ना?
अभी वो
Currently we are evaluating F2. Don't think,
Okay, sir.
don't jump into conclusion. This we have not evaluated. F1 we have not evaluated. Now coming to F1, I will come with 1 into F0. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But when I say F0 or when I say F1, I can directly see when n is 0 or 1, I can directly return 1. So this time what would be my return value?
1.
1.
1. This is my return value, and currently this function is executing. So that is why I have shown you with a play button.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Are you people getting it? Yeah, I am getting it also. Now what happens is, now this will be returned to its previous function. What was the previous function? It was F2, and where it will be returned? It will be returned in place of F1. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it will be returned to F1, but before returning it to the F1, or before replacing F1 with 1, all the things in the stack, remember the stack what we have, what I've shown you 2 to 3 slides before. So this will be cleared off. Is this clear? But
Yes.
whatever was executing will be cleared off. Now what would be the value of F2?
2.
2.
It will be 2. Currently this is my executing function. Now this will be return value of, this is 2. Now 2 will be returned to F2. And before returning, all the things will be clear. Similarly, you could see what we are getting into. We are getting 6, because 3 into 2 is 6, and 6 will be returned in the F3, but before it returns, it clears everything. And finally I get 4 into 6 is 24. Currently this status, this is what F4 is running, and I'm getting a result of 24. This is my recursive value of, or recursion of the factorial of 4. Did you understand how recursion is working?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you understand how recursion is working?
Yes.
Sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So this is a pictorial simulation. Previously I've shown you one by one. This is a pictorial simulation of the same thing. So what are the properties of recursion? See, every recursive algorithm has 2 cases: recursive case and base case. Now in case of factorial, what is the base case? To understand this, you have to understand the point 2. Every recursive function case must terminate at a base case. Means when I am showing you when n is equals to 0, I am returning 1. That is my base case. If I don't have a base case, your recursive function will go into a loop or will go into an infinite loop. So make sure there is the base case must be present in your recursion, and there would be a general case or recursive case which is which actually terminate at base case. Now, generally iterative solution are more efficient than recursive solution due to the overhead of function calls. Why this point is coming is that, see, if you are looking at iteration, so here no extra memory is written, no extra memory is required. Why? Because here no function is calling another function, so whatever the amount of memory is written for required for I or iteration, that is the thing only is required, not extra memory is required for a different function. But why do we need the recursion then? If recursion is worst or is not better than iteration, it is because sometimes a problem itself is a recursive in nature. So it will be better to give if you have better space, if you have better space utilization, better memory, and better processor, then you can go for a recursive solution. And there are some problems which you cannot do with iterative algorithms, because there cannot be any iterative algorithm for some problems. So that is why we use recursion for that. Now, what is the difference between recursion and iteration? The recursion terminates when a base case is reached. Now you check the iteration terminates when a condition is proven to be false. Iteration means loops, that's it. So if a loop condition is false, iteration is done. Iteration cannot go. The next statement is each recursive call requires extra space on the stack frame or the memory. Why? Because a function is calling another function is calling another function. So if you get infinite recursion, the program may run out of the memory. But here, each iteration does not require extra space. An infinite loop could loop forever. Yeah, there could be an infinite loop in your loop also, but there is no extra memory is needed for that also. Thirdly, solution to some problems are easier to formulate recursively, and here iteration solution to a problem may not always be obvious as a recursive solution. What actually third point mean is there are some problems in nature, or some problems in nature itself are recursive in nature. So for those cases you have to use recursion, and I have given you the example in many of the sorting algorithms you use recursion. Now, what are the different types of recursion? Actually, there are two types. Actually, the first type is direct recursion, and the second type is indirect recursion. I have shown you what is indirect recursion. Indirect recursion is A calling B, B calling C, C calling D, D calling E. Means if a function is calling another function is calling some other function, and so on. But direct recursion is a function is calling its smaller version repeatedly. A function is calling its smaller version repeatedly. Now, this could be categorized into four types. Tail recursion. If a recursive function calling itself and the recursive call is the last statement, then it is known as tail recursion. And its vice versa is head recursion. If the recursive calling itself and recursive call is the first statement, then it's a head recursion. Tree recursion is nothing but if a recursion or if a recursion of a recursive call is calling itself more than one time, is a tree recursion, or more than 3 times, it's a tree recursion. And nested recursion, you have already know that a recursion calling itself again and again, that means a recursion is nested in nature. Recursion inside recursion. Okay. And this is indirect recursion. This is fun A is calling fun B is calling fun C, and so on. This is indirect recursion. Now, did you get the idea of recursion?
Yes, sir.
Now let's do a program to understand this. Okay, to understand this.
सर
बोलो.
सर सर हमने जो फैक्टोरियल फंक्शन थे वो इनडायरेक्ट होगा ना सर?
इनडायरेक्ट कैसे हुआ?
indirect recursion function a b को कॉल करे n-1
but what is the name of the function?
factorial.
Factorial was the, and factorial is calling factorial only.
Yes,
So what kind of recursion is that?
direct.
Direct. This is direct recursion. If the same function is calling itself again and again, but with smaller set of or reduced size of the n, then it is direct recursion, because factorial is calling f4 is calling f3. It is not calling something b, c, d, anything else. It is calling itself again, but with a smaller set of values. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
So this is direct recursion. Indirect recursion means if something else is calling something. Okay, let's go with C++ today. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Visible, right? Okay. Don't worry about this. I'm using C++ because C++ is a superset of C. So you can run your C program here also. Or you can write stdi.h, no issues. As you have learned this. Don't worry about this. This is required in C++. And remember, cout is nothing but your printf statement, and cin is nothing but your scanf statement. Okay, delete int main. So what I'll do is I'll do the same program here, integer. I will take n and I will ask the user cout. Okay, I'll give printf. So as you don't worry, printf enter. Okay, sorry, spelling mistake. Enter a number, and I'll scan this. Okay, slash n. For what purpose we use slash n?
New line.
Line gap.
Line gap?
New line.
New line.
For new line.
New line. Percentage d, and then I will put it inside where? That n. Did you get these two statement? What I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking the user to give a number to find its factorial, and I'm keeping or storing that number in the address of n. That means inside n only. Now, I will call what? I will call recursion. Okay, I will use another particular statement f. I will say equal to 1. No, leave it f. I will just declare one more variable f, and f is integer type variable, and I will call a function as per our notation plus fact, and I will send n. What is n here? Parameter or argument?
Argument.
Argument.
Argument or parameter?
Argument.
Arguments are passed. So here n I am passing where? In the factorial, and factorial is, or fact function is returning f. F is what kind of variable? Integer. So it means fact will be returning an integer. So let me write it integer. It is returning. The name of the function is fact, and here n is nothing but integer. And again I'm taking inside n only. That is inside n my value will be stored. Okay. What is the base condition now? Base condition means where it must terminate. What is the last condition it must terminate?
Sir, n equals to 1.
Huh? if n equal to 1 or if n equal to 0.
0.
Basically, it's better that if n equal to 0. So if n is equals to 0, then what I should say? Return
1.
what? 1. Return 1, because if n is 0, my factorial is 1, nothing more than that. After that, if it is not 1, okay, so should I write else or not? Should I whether I need to write else or not?
Else.
Then
You can write else or you cannot write else. It depends on your logic. I'm not writing it, but it will still work. Okay, so let me write what is the name of the function? Facts. Okay, what was the sorry. So as to understand you or to make you understand, I have to go to this logic. What was written? What was the factorial function? N into factorial n minus 1. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
N into factorial n minus 1. So I will write the same thing. Return what? N into
n into n
fact.
minus 1.
Fact. Our statement is fact n minus 1. That's it. Finish. Nothing more than that. With this amount of code, you are good to go with your factorial program. So let's start, or let's see, is there any problems in my code? No, I don't have any code. So let me give you the number 4. Okay, I have not printed fact. Okay, let me print the fact, because f here, although it contains the total factorial function, but I have not printed it somewhere. So printf percentage d comma f, or you can also write the factorial of percentage d is percentage d. So first percentage d is for n, the next percentage d is for f. Now is it correct? I guess it is correct.
Yes.
Let me check it. So 4, the factorial of 4 is 24. Am I right here?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll do one thing. Yeah, now we'll do one thing. I'm directly printing it, so you won't be able to understand how the call stack is working. So to make understand the call stack, I will create one more variable integer, capital F. Okay, capital F, and I will say, okay, F is too much. Okay, I will say foo. That's it. Foo. Int foo. And what I'll do is, I will say foo is equals to n into fact n minus 1. Okay. Now here, I will have some printf statements. Printf calculating f. Currently /n. Okay, wait a minute. You'll just understand what I'm doing. I'll just giving 2 printf statements. That is, one before factorial is calculating and after it is calculated the factorial. Printf returning n, and the second is comma, second is 2. Here also I messed out one more thing. It's n. Okay. Now what I'm doing is, okay, wait a minute. Clear semicolon. Then, okay, you are in different 2. Fine. And somehow I will not print this time. Okay. Now check the function. I have just made 2 changes. First change is I have created one more variable known as foo, which is of type integer. And the factorial function which we have been returning till now, I have created this function. I have not changed any function. Instead of return statement, I have initialized with foo, or the integer variable which I have declared. Are you getting the point here? Now I am doing 2 printf statements. One is calculating what is the current state, what is the current n it is calculating the value for, and secondly returning f of n. That means returning factorial of f of n. Now just run it. You will be able to understand what I'm. Let's see. I'm giving 4. Okay, slash slash n. Now just check it out. What is happening? Oh, semicolon is missing out here instead of real. Okay. Now enter a number. I'm giving the same number 4. Now if you look at very carefully, what first it was calculating? Is it visible first of all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, defaults and just properties. Properties, I will show the point or the size 228. Okay. Now, is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have given the number 4. First, what it was calculating?
Factorial 4.
F4. F4 was in the current stack. First stack frame was F4, right? After that, the next stack frame was for F3. Then it was for F2. Then it was for F1. Now, although you know F1, we got what? 1. Then we got F2 is 2. Then we got F3 is 6. And then we finally got F4 is 24. Now, it goes in the, whichever is been inserted last, it is giving the factorial of it as first. Did you got the idea how stack is working? Stack is a principle. The stack is having is last in, first out. That means whichever the element or the function is inserted last, that will be evaluated or getting out of the stack first. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ये और अच्छी तरीके से समझोगे जब मैं सही में स्टैक में जाऊंगा. But for this purpose, just try to understand that first, although I have started with F4 first, calculating the factorial of F4 first, but the factorial of F4, the result of factorial F4 is showing at the last. And if you look at F1, which was calculated lastly, whose function was calculated, its return factorial of F1 is given first. That means it is performing or it is following the principle of last in, first out. बात समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So many of you tell me that there is, in many books you'll find that recursion is not good. Why recursion is not good? Do you know it? So do you have time so that I can show you one more program?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा अच्छा, do you know what is Fibonacci series?
Yes,
What
sir.
is Fibonacci series?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The first two elements are 0 and 1. After that, what is the next element?
1,
It is the addition of the
One.
first two elements. 1, then
2,
2,
2, then
3,
3, then
5,
5, then
8,
8, then
13,
13,
then
21,
21, then what?
34.
34. So, in a way, I can say this is the first term or F1. बोल सकता हूँ ना, ये F1 है.
Yes, sir.
This is F2, second term. This is F3, third term. This is F4, fourth term. This is F5, fifth term. This is F6, sixth term. Wait a minute, कहीं mistake कर दिया? F3, 1 plus M2, F4, 2 plus F5, 3 plus F5. This is F7. This is F8. बात समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
Yes, sir.
This is the first, this is the second term, this is the third term, this is the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. I guess you have learned this in your high school mathematics, if I'm not wrong. Now, what is its, can it be, see, if you look at very carefully, this is also a recursive in nature. How is it recursive? How it is repetitive? Because the last term becomes, okay, what I mean to say is, if I have only one or two arguments, what is its base condition? If I have to say Fibo, this is the function, okay, let me write in Fibo star. This multi-line comment, and then you have star. Now, if I have to, this is the fib n. If I give the number n or the term, n means here 3, 4, 5, 6. What actually you will get in terms of function? क्या मिलेगा तुमको फंक्शन में?
Mm,
Let's suppose, leave first two. Let's suppose if I give 3, how will I reach 3? You are not getting it. How will I reach 3?
F1 plus F2.
Not in terms of fib only. Fib of n. If I want to reach
n minus 1 plus
fib n minus 1 plus
n minus 2.
fib n minus 2. Correct. Did you get the idea? What actually? How will I reach 3? The addition of 3. I'm getting 1, right? So how I've reached it? 3 का F2 निकालो, what is Fn minus 1, and 3 का F1 निकालो. इन दोनों का जो वैल्यू होगा, इन लोगों को ऐड कर लो. ऐड करके तुम्हें F3 का जो वैल्यू है वो मिलेगा. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what else? What is the base condition here? Can you tell me what could be the base condition? This is the recursive case for any n. But if n is equal to 0, 1 or 0, what should be the base condition? This is the base condition. What should be your fib of n? Fib of n क्या होगा तब? Zero or 1 हुआ तो
N minus 1.
fib of n is nothing. हाँ?
So 0
fib of n ही होगा. बात समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Did you get the idea? This is the base condition. Wait a minute. This is the base condition. If n equal to 1, if n equal to 1 or 0. So if I give 1, I'm getting 1 only. If I'm giving 0, I'm getting 0 only. Now how will I get, although see, अभी तो 3 में देखा था F3. F4 मुझे कैसे मिलेगा? F4 मुझे कैसे मिलेगा?
F3 plus F2.
F3 plus F2. So I have previously Fn minus 2 was 1, right? So what I have to do is, you have to change it. To get F4, as per your notation, you have to add, wait a minute, F3 plus F2. Wait a minute. F2. So in other words, I can also say F4 is nothing but Fn minus 1 plus, wait a minute, Fn minus 2. Is it correct?
Yes, sir. Sir, not audible.
Your second term becomes the first term and the first term becomes the last term. तुम लोग को भी दिखाना, यही प्रॉब्लम होता है नेट में करवाने से. Let's see if I can show you. Because in class, I would have taken hardly 10 to 15 minutes. But in net, there is a problem. Okay, Fibonacci series. Okay, Fibonacci series, recurrence relation. Okay, fine, recurrence relation. Or recursive algorithm. देखें जरा है कि नहीं इसमें. ये रिकर्शन नहीं समझ में आया तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So how to generate Fibonacci series? The x5 term is 5, as I have already shown. ये वाला x6, x8, so becomes what? x8 is x7 plus x6. Am I right? तो अगर यही तरीका है, you could write Fibonacci series or terms could be written as Tn will be equal to Tn minus 1 plus Tn minus 2. Is it right?
Yes,
So in
Yes,
this
sir.
way, this is nothing but if first term is 0, second term is 1, third term is nothing but first and second, fourth term is nothing but second and third. Now, this is where the things get interesting. When I'm talking about fourth term, when I'm talking about my fourth term, what is the first term here? The second becomes the first term, and the last result is third term because here second term. Am I right?
Yes,
ध्यान
sir.
से देखो.
Yes, sir.
So if you can use this logic in your algorithm, you will get to know this is the algorithm they are showing. It is the algorithm they are showing. So you can use it. Now, how to using a recursive nature or recursive algorithm? Okay, to find Fibonacci series algorithm recursive. तो कहीं से ये चीज दिखाना पड़ेगा आपको. Hash hash include stdio dot h and name. In the main function, what I'll ask the user? I'll ask the term, right? Int n. And in this n is nothing but the term. Now you ask it. Printf, enter the nth term for Fibonacci series. Enter the nth नहीं लिखते हैं. Enter the term for Fibonacci series. Give a slash and n. Is this statement clear?
Yes, sir.
Scanf. I am giving percentage d and I am asking the user to put it inside the term n. Okay. Now I will call another integer n. I will say it is f. F stands for fib. Fib stands for the summation of the nth term. So fib will get what? Another function, Fibo function, or Fibo n. That is, I'm passing the n. So Fibo n function, Fibon function, and this is how. And then I print the fib. Printf. What is printf now? Printf. The Fibonacci series of percentage d term is percentage d. It's 2% d, so I'm using two things. One is n, another is fib. Here, finish it up and return 0. Return 0. The main function, did you get the algorithm? What is your main function is doing? Just think of the algorithm first. I have declared, similar to your factorial, I have declared two variables, integer variables. One is n, another is fib. So n is nothing but the term that you are asking the user to tell which term I must show you the Fibonacci series. But you cannot go on, right? Because it's a recursive in nature. So if I don't ask for the n, then it becomes what? Then your program becomes an infinite loop. And whatever the Fibonacci series is showing, whatever the Fibonacci series is returning, I am keeping inside a variable called fib. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
And after that,
Yes,
this
sir.
Fibonacci. After that, this Fibonacci series is printed. Simple. I have not defined the function yet. Now, to define the function, I will show you the code that it has been shown. Now, if n is less than 1, what do you mean by less than or equal to 1? That means if the first two terms if it is 0, if 0 is given or 1 is given, I must show that only. All right. Otherwise, this is the recurrence or recursive nature. Fifth n minus 1 plus fifth n minus 2. Am I right? So what I have to show is, I will call the Fibon int Fibo, Fibon, that is Fibonacci series, and here I will say integer n only, make it things very easier for int n. Now what is my base condition? If
N
n is less than or equal to 1. If it reaches to this condition, then what I must say? Return
N
what?
N
N only. Otherwise, you have to calculate fib. Okay, return what? Return fib, fib. N minus 1 plus fib n minus 2. Am I right? This was my logic, or this was my recurrence relation. Now if I try to run this, okay, what is this? Okay, return Fibon hoga, Fibon, and this should also be Fibon. Is it visible? Enter the term. तो किस term का चाहिए तुम लोग को? Let's see. Let me give 6. 6 का 8 ही आ रहा था. The sixth term is 8th or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
पहला term क्या था? Okay, wait a minute. First term was 0.
0 1
Second term was 1.
1
Third term was
1
1. Fourth term was
2
2,
2. Fifth term was
3
3,
3. Sixth term was
5
5,
5. Seventh term was
8.
8. Seventh term was 8.
8
Sir, 8.
8. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. अच्छा 0 और 1 तो दो अलग अलग टर्म नहीं है ना, ये तो एक ही टर्म है. Declare this becomes the first term on. बात समझने की कोशिश करो, क्योंकि हमने यहाँ पर और कुछ नहीं लिखा है. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. Because these two conditions are given or are encountered here only. Did you get it? So this is the first term and this is also the first term. Because without two terms, I cannot actually have this Fibonacci series. So these are default terms. And after that, this is 1, this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if I have got the sixth term, is 8. Now, if I again run this program, if I run the sixth term, I'm getting 8. It's correct. बात समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
हम लोग का n इक्वल टू 9 34 आता है, तो देखते हैं हम लोग का 34 आता है. n इक्वल टू 9 34 आ रहा है ना हमारा भी.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now the condition here is, let's, why I am saying it is bad recursion if you are not careful. What about the 40th term? मैं यहाँ पर 40 देता हूँ and now it is calculating. समझ में आ रहा है? Okay, wait a minute. I will give a little bit more. 50th term. And now it is calculating. See how much time it is taking? It is still calculating. Check. So why do you think it is taking so much of time? Anybody has any answers?
So because the function is calling itself again and again.
But this is same with factorial also. It was also calling again and again. But why in this case, just getting the 50th term, what is the addition of, or what is the Fibonacci series sum of 50th term, I'm getting so much of time, or I am taking so much of time. So let it happen. Let's try to understand why is it okay. I'll do here only. Let me create one more slide. Use that. For example, let's suppose I'm taking F5 for Fibonacci series. Sorry, F5. Okay. F5 will be calculated in which way? It will be. Okay, wait a minute. Example. F5. Yeah. Wait a minute. F5 will be calculated using two more things. What are this? One will be calculated F4. Another will be calculated what? F3. बात समझ में आ रहा है? What I mean to say here,
Yes, sir.
F5 को आप ऐसे
Yes, sir.
कैलकुलेट करोगे ना फिबोनाची सीरीज में.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
हाँ सर.
After that, इस 4 को भी तोड़ना पड़ेगा. तो कंट्रोल C, कंट्रोल C. ये 4 टूट गया. और कंट्रोल C, कंट्रोल C भी टूट गया. भी ऐसे टूटेगा. इसमें क्या टूटेगा ये? F4 को
F3,
will be F3 and then
F2.
F2.
F2. F2. What about this? What about this?
F2,
This is again F2 and then
F1.
1.
Yes,
F1, right?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. फिर ये फिर से टूटेगा. कंट्रोल C. कंट्रोल V. कंट्रोल V. फिर कंट्रोल V. फिर कंट्रोल मेरा ये ट्रिक कंप्लीट हो चुका है. Let me make you understand. F3 कितने में कैसे टूटेगा ये?
F2,
F2
F1,
and then
F1.
F1. तो ये F2 और ये F1 हुए. फिर F2 कैसे टूटेगा?
F1,
कैसे डिवाइड होगा?
F1,
Will be F1,
F1, F0.
F1 and F0. F1 and F0. Wait a minute. Lacking a bit of space, and I'm not repeating for this F2 because it is understandable. This would be same for everything. All right. So rather than Control X, I will take this. You already know what would be its left side and right side. अब समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? दोनों ही F2 ही है ना?
Yes, sir.
ये भी F2 है, ये भी F2 है. तो तुम्हें पता है राइट लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में F1 है, राइट हैंड साइड में F0 है. एंड दिस इज F1. F1 में क्या क्या आएगा?
F0.
F0 आएगा इसमें. इट इज द बेस कंडीशन राइट. F1 रीच कर गया,
वो उधर ही खत्म हो गया.
वहीं पर खत्म हो गया. इसका सिर्फ 1 ही आएगा.
1.
या F1 इसमें F0 में सिर्फ 0 ही आएगा. सो दिस इज 1. नाउ ट्राई टू सी हाउ मेनी टाइम्स आई हैव कैलकुलेटेड F2 हियर. 1 2 3. 3 times I have calculated F2. Am I right? How many times I have calculated F3 here?
2
Three.
times.
2 times. And if you increase the number of terms, you will be calculate the same thing so many times. This is nothing but this is a recursion tree, and you have to be very careful with this. So that is why it was taking so much of time. Now see it is getting -2 9 8 6 3 2 8 6 3. माइनस क्यों आ रहा है इधर?
इंटीजर का थ्रेशोल्ड क्रॉस कर गया.
Exactly, integer का threshold cross कर गया. And I have shown you why this kind of thing is coming and how to understand or how to think of how to clear of these problems. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you get it? Did you get it? Now can you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, finally, I'll give you a challenge. Now you have to create a Fibonacci series. You have to create a Fibonacci series. लेकिन जब मैं F50 दूं as a term, I should not get that much of time. What is the idea you can, because the idea here is you have to calculate, you don't have to calculate F3, F2 repeatedly. You calculate it once and save it to memory somehow. How you are going to do this and how you are come up with the solution, this is up to you. Can you do this? And can we meet in our next class with your solution?
Yes, sir.
Don't directly jump into internet. I'm sure you'll get the answer in internet. But put your idea first. What can be done? Whatever the things you know till now, it can be solved using that only. You know arrays, you know integers, you know how to call the functions. You can do with these things only. So can you do this?
Yes, sir.
Only thing you have to do is don't eliminate the repeatedly counted Fibonacci series, which like F2 it is repeatedly executing, or it is calculating the value of F2 twice. You have to calculate the value of F2 only once and save it somewhere. How to save it, how this somewhere it will go, it is up to you. Find out F3 and then find out you don't need to calculate F3 once again here. Are you getting the point? So you do it on your own, try to finish it off, and let's see, can we see it tomorrow or not? Just think, sleep with the problem, and just try to find out what sort of solution could be perfect for this. So I will meet you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Let's come up with the solution. Don't go into internet directly. If you want to go, I will understand that you have taken it from internet. Try to put your mind behind the solution. What can be done? Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can we stop today's class?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any questions in today's class? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Sir, I have asked you one doubt in the WhatsApp group.
Oh yeah. That part, no. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll do it here only. I'm deleting everything here. Layout. See, he has asked me one question. What is your name?
Sir, Arunav.
Arnav. So Arnav has asked me one question, that how to solve a particular thing if it is in loop, how to find out its complexity if it is log n. You are basically interested in log n, right?
Yes, sir.
Basically interested in how a particular complexity is log n. So Arnav, you have already seen that in an array, create an array. Let's suppose okay. Now this is the array. Now this is an array. Arnav, 4,
Yes, sir.
7, 1, 19. Okay, wait a minute. Four, 7, 9, 19, 23, 7, 52, 4, 92. Okay, let's suppose I have an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 elements. Okay.
Yes, sir.
In the worst case, if I have to search, what would be its complexity? In the worst case, if I have to search, if I have to do a search operation, in its worst case, what would be its complexity? Anyone can answer?
The big of 10.
Huh?
The big of 10.
You have to traverse all the elements. So total, how many elements are there? 10 elements are there. So you have to across, or you have to take all the elements. That is 10, or big of 10 would be its answer, right? Here, big O of 10. 10 is what? Number of elements. Now in as 10 can also be written as n. Am I right? If you have to make it as a general case. Is it not? It could be, for this example, it is 10. There could be there could be another area of 1,000 elements. Then it will be the 1,000, O of 1,000. Then it will be, then I may have one more area of 1 crores. So in that way, or 2 gigabytes of data, or 3 gigabytes of data, you cannot write 10, 20, 30. You have to write n for in general case. N is the number of elements. Now this idea is of about linear search. Right. This is about linear search. Linear search. When you are searching linearly. I have one more idea given you in that case. Binary search. Alright, what was binary search? What was binary search? Hello?
So from starting and end, if we search.
So average.
Okay, I will come with another idea. Average, not average. I'm coming with middle point, right? Every time I'm okay. अब मैं जरा इसको delete कर रहा हूँ ताकि मैं चीजों को देख सकूँ. In binary search, in the initial stage, at the beginning, how many elements I have to search? At the first step. First step, how many elements I have? 10 elements. Am I right?
10 animals.
I have n elements. Then in the second step,
n by 2.
कितना आ रहा है? Correct. N by 2. Because I'm removing all the elements after if it is less than, then I will remove all the elements from the right side of the high pointer or the mid high pointer. In the third step, what would be the element? How much element I have to search? N by
N
4. Am I
by
right?
4.
Fourth step.
Yes, sir.
The fourth step, what will happen? How much element I'll
N
be?
by
I'll
8.
be N by
8.
Think of it.
16.
Yes. Why is it 16?
4 into 4.
4 into 4. So, in other words, you could say, every time it is dividing by half. Okay, 4 to, oh sorry, this is 8 only. Correct. This is 8. 8 के बाद आएगा 16 by half. The fifth step, I'll be having what? N by 60. Now, in the kth step mane, we have already reached or found out the thing. What would be its answer? N divided by what?
Two to the power k minus.
Tell me, what would be its answer?
N over 2 to the power k minus 1.
N over
2 to the power k minus 1.
y.
Because in first step it was n over 2 to the power 0. In second step it was n over 2 to the power 1.
N over
Following the trend.
N over 2 to the power
0.
Yes, he is correct. You can write n is 2 to the power 0. This 0, I'm just writing at this moment 0 in this way because I don't have space around me. This is n is divided by 2 to the power 1. This 1 is nothing but is power. In other way, I can write this is the power. And similar way, this 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4. Am I right? So what is k? K is nothing but k. Wait a minute. Binary search. At kth step, k is nothing but k is n is divided by 2 to the power what?
K minus 1.
To the power
K minus 1.
what? K or k minus 1? You can write
K minus 1.
Actually k plus k minus 1. Okay, 2 to the power k or 2 to the power some I, whatever it is.
K minus 1.
Okay, fine. So if I have to make it, it is equal to 1 because you have reached to the you have searched and you have found the thing. Now if you want to try to if you try to solve this, you will get something like n is equal to 2 to the power a minus 1. How much it will come to? If I take log in both sides, if I take log in both sides, I will have log n is equal to k minus 1 or k into log 2, k into log 2. This log is having the base 2. So log 2 to the 2, it is nothing but log n is equals to k. यही कारण है, wait a minute. मैं बात समझा पाया हूं कि नहीं पाया, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. This is the reason why n is log n, k is log n. Its complexity, binary search.
log n बराबर
हाँ?
सर log n बराबर k into log 2 कैसे हुआ?
ये k minus 1 नहीं है भाई, 2 raised to k है ये. k minus 1 कब जाएगा ये? In the previous step. I am saying at the k step I have found or reached the element. Then it is 2 raised to k. So n divided by 2 raised to k equal to 1. 1 का मतलब क्या? I have only one element now left because I have found out. The next element, it will be, my condition will get false. K plus 1 में condition false हो जाएगा. तो अगर ये system है, n is divided by 2 raised to k is equals to 1. Now if I try to find out log, or if I try to equate this, I will get 2 raised to k, not minus 1, sorry, 2 raised to k.
Yes, yes.
अब मैं दोनों तरफ अगर मैं log लूं तो एक तरफ log n आ जाएगा, एक तरफ k log 2 आ जाएगा. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So log to the this log has the base 2 only because मैं
One.
binary के साथ ही बात कर रहा हूँ.
Yes, sir. 1.
So log to the 2, it is 1.
Yes.
So k will become what? Log n.
Yes, sir.
So this log n is nothing but this log n is your complexity. So whenever you are dividing your program into half, you will get log n. So it may have in your if you look at your WhatsApp group or WhatsApp data, ऐसा ही कुछ दिया था ना तुम लोग ने? क्या दिया था? मुझे तो याद नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ, ये था ना. एक मिनट, ये था.
Yes, sir.
This was the now if you look at very carefully, whenever we are finding out the complexity, we are finding out for the worst case and for very large values of n. So in the first for loop, what is the I initialized to? I is initialized to n by 2. If you have n gigabytes of data, then n by 2 does it have any meaning?
No, sir.
Gigabyte, terabytes of data, whether n will have any meaning?
No,
N by
sir.
2 will have any meaning? So
No.
it is as good as n. And how long it will run? Till n. Am I right?
N times.
So it becomes n. What is the next loop? Same thing. It is also running till n. Am I right?
Yes.
So it is n into n. That is n square. Now come to the third loop. This time your k is doubling. It is not k plus plus. It is k into 2. Am I right? It it is doubling at nature, so that it will reach n faster rather than just k plus plus. Am I right? Every time it is doubling. 2, then it is 4, then it is 8, then it is 16, then it is 32. Am I right? So it will follow the same logic what I have given to you. Then it will eventually come out log n only. So this is how, this is n into log n becomes n square log n. Simple.
Yes, sir.
Did you get it? So you try it out. You take some amount of data and try how k runs, how the k runs or reaches to that data. You will find there is log n difference of normal linear search or linear incrementation, and when you are doubling it or halving it or making it half times. So this is how this everything needs to be, or everything is done in this complexity theory. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can we stop today?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm stopping here, and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.